Welcome to Unmasking Greatness. I'm your host, Chris Kakouras, a lifestyle fitness coach and mentor. This podcast is about unmasking your greatest potential, finding your purpose, and crafting a life worth living. Health and fitness has been the gateway drug to all of my success. My continuous drive to keep learning and surround myself with other high achievers forces me to level up, which has developed my mind to something I never thought was possible. This podcast is here to share what I've learned and continue to learn with all of you. This is your sign to take back control of your health, mindset, and personal environment. Strap in as we are recharged, and always, if you find value in the show, please subscribe and share as we can all get better together. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Unmasking Greatness. I'm your host, Chris Kakouras, and if this is your first episode or you don't know who I am a health and fitness lifestyle coach where we help individuals get into amazing shape and also optimize their metabolic markers through lab work, through different lifestyle factors to help get them in not only just the best shape of their life, but also have that mental clarity to attack the day with purpose. And I have been extremely blessed to work with some of the clients that I am working with currently and in the past as well, where these are very high level achieving individuals, making, multiple 7 figures, 8 figures in their business or their careers as executives. And selfishly, I say this kind of jokingly, is that, I'm helping them, get them in amazing shape and, sharpen their skill sets. But they are also mentoring me because a lot of the conversations become very, strategic and get into the business side of things. And I have skills for them as well. Questions for them as well, where I want to learn too, just like anybody. I think the minute you stop learning is when you lose the game. And so being with these individuals, being able to have intimate conversations with them about their lifestyles and their success, I have noticed a commonality with all of them. And I don't want to just umbrella every successful person because there are very different individuals out there. Everybody is unique in their own way. And for example, I used to say this about mentors, is there's a lot of mentors out there that, say that they can help your business and, make you tons of money. And as you guys may or may not have known, I've worked with four different mentorships now, high level mentorships. And, outside of like all the skills and the tactics that they want to teach you, one of the things that I really look at is the individual in itself, right? Like what's their character? What's their personality like? Because there's many ways to make money, right? You can work your 9 to 5, you can start a business, you can do all the right things, and you can also rob people. You can con people out of money. So just because someone can make you money doesn't mean it's the right way for you, and I'm not here to judge. So I say all that to say I don't want to umbrella all successful people under this, but the ones that I have fortunately been able to work with, there are definitely some similarities, and maybe it's because you attract what you put out. Like the energy you put out is what you attract. Maybe that's part of it. I am a little bit particular in who I work with, so that could be it. But I want to share these with you guys because I kind of came up with 4 specifically that really stood out to me this past week when I started kind of thinking back over the past couple years, because we've officially been in business since January 2020. So it's been a run, and through that time I've been able to build and work my way into these individuals that trust me. So without further ado, let's get into this, because I think this first one, I don't know, maybe you guys could guess this or not. The first one is in their business specifically. The one thing that you would ask is like how their business is doing, how it grew to be what it was, etc. But then we also got into the struggles, because when you start a business, unfortunately, like it comes with ups and downs. Not everything is all thriving and sunshine and rainbows. Like it can get quite dark, and it has for myself at some points in my time too. And so one of the ones that really stood out to me is this, and this is my point 1. Their faith is what carried them through the darkness or the hardships, okay? whichever you want to look at it like. So every one of them, without me even asking, which was kind of crazy too, brought up their faith. Their faith in God is really what carried them through some of the hardest stretches of their life. And so, again, there was times in business where things are just cranking. They're ramping up. You know what I mean? Business is going great. And eventually, there's a part, and I'm sure, and honestly, everyone that I've talked to, I'm not even going to say some of them, all of them have got themselves in a predicament that they didn't really know how they were going to get out of. Some of them, it got so dark to where the consideration of quote unquote unaliving themselves was in their mind, where some of them had to really like lean into praying. And maybe that's something they've never done before. And if you guys heard my story, that was kind of my thing, is that did I believe? Sure. If you asked me like God and Jesus, if I knew, like I could tell you I knew them, I knew about them, but like I never had a relationship with them. I guess that would be the best way to say that. And I did a podcast a couple episodes back about this of how that came to be. And now I'm trying to get into the Word and read and understand and pray. I feel like sometimes there's places that you get that there's honestly nobody can come help you. I know that sounds horrible to say, but sometimes there's nobody in your circle that can say something to make it right. And that faith in God and the Lord, that everything is happening for some sort of purpose. You don't understand why, but you accept it. It just helps you navigate the season differently, right? It just, you stop treating every hard season as like some sort of evidence that something has failed, right? And now you start developing the ability to get under the real load without being crushed by it. And that strength comes from within and from your faith with the Lord. And so I found that to be quite interesting. Again, I didn't preamp that question or initiate, conversation about faith. And I'm also very particular about that, knowing myself and my past. If somebody opens that door, I'll walk in, but I will never like force somebody through to talk about something like that. Just personal choice on my end. And so I found that very intriguing. And, I do want to bridge a little bit of the physiology that goes along with this, because again, I'm a coach. I'm not a pastor, so I'm not going to, start telling you guys verbatim Psalms and quoting the Bible. I'm not that good yet, guys. I'm sorry. But with chronic, unrelenting stress, okay, the kind where you never actually put the weight down, that load, it starts to show up in your body. And it shows up in your markers, your health markers in your labs, cortisol levels, your testosterone, estrogen levels. It shows up in your energy throughout the day. It shows up with your sleep. You're tossing and turning, you're waking up tired. Your recovery, your body just doesn't respond the way that it used to. You're gaining all the extra weight. This is what stress can do to you. This thing is a silent killer, okay? And the person who's under pressure but has somewhere to put it, is a physiologically different person than one carrying it alone, okay? And so I just see these individuals just carry stress differently. And as their success grows, I use the term like there's different devils in different levels, right? So like as these people are leveling up, the capacity and the stress that they have is much bigger than what some of us can imagine. One of them had told me something that was going on this year, and I just couldn't fathom the idea of something like that happening to me. And he was cool with it, and I wouldn't say he was cool with it. I mean, it definitely was bothering him, but he had the capacity to be able to handle that load, which was impressive in a weird way. And also I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm praying for you too, brother. You know what I mean? So that was the first thing that really kind of stuck out to me with these individuals that I used to talk to. The second one, okay, I call this the hack trap, all right? And this is no disrespect in any ways, but when individuals have an excess amount of income that they have money to be able to spend on, not just with me, but just anything in general, they look for every hack around them, okay? They want to see what they can pay for to get them the results they want, all right? So every single one of these individuals that I talk to, they kind of told me the same thing. Like I didn't think they had any sort of like a discipline or motivational problem. They were just looking for these hacks, which could be, certain supplements, peptides, the red light therapy. And I'm not saying these things are not working or not good. They definitely are, but you need to think of these as nitrous to your car, right? You got to have a good, solid foundation, a built motor to be able to handle these things and use them to the capacity that they are meant to be used at. Except these individuals, they were doing it backwards. They weren't doing the baseline fundamentals, which ultimately comes down to lifestyle changes, your diet, your workouts, your recovery. Like, these are very simple things that cost nothing. They cost nothing. But again, when you have additional funds, money is not an issue, right? So if I can speed up the process, then why not, right? That this is how they think. But the reality is, you cannot hack your way out of the work that hasn't been done yet, right? There's no protocol that replaces the sleep. There's no compound that replaces protein and the resistance training. There's just no shortcut around the basics. And ultimately, if you do that, it becomes longer and more expensive down the road. So these are the kind of things that I'm like, whoa. You're doing all this, but you're taking this, you're doing that, but you're not eating healthy. You're not on a meal plan. You're not working out. Like, you think this is going to change everything? It kind of goes back to even before this. So with working, just like talking to young kids, they think that they just start pumping steroids and all of a sudden they're going to look like Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler. That's not how the body works. Sorry to burst your bubbles. So, but you have to understand how these individuals are thinking, right? Because in business, all right, or even working in a high-level corporate position, buying leverage works. The fact is, like, that's the whole game. You don't want to do the bookkeeping, you hire a bookkeeper, right? You don't want to build the software, you buy the software, right? So in their mind, it's how can I leverage my income to buy back my time? And again, when you're talking business talk, that's how things are. You do the work until you can hire out and essentially buy your time back. So that mentality and that concept is very similar. So they take the same exact strategy and they try to plug it into their health and fitness, but it doesn't work. And they see that. And then the default is, I'm just not disciplined, dude. Or I don't know, man. I'm so busy. I just don't have the motivation to do it right now. Yeah. Well, that's also why we don't want to rely on that. With these individuals, I end up telling them, like, this is the problem. Like, you're looking at this in the wrong view and through the wrong lens. Everything in your business is systematic, right? Everything in the way that you move is on a calendar. Everything that you do is, in an Excel sheet. You're tracking everything. And so when you start trying to live a healthier life, it needs to move in that same kind of flow. Everything's systematic. Everything's plugged in the calendar. Things are automated because we don't like to waste time. And when you're thinking and you're deciding and you're not sure, this is where time just goes down the drain. So the hack trap, if this sounds like you, don't fall for it. There is no hack to real hard work. All right. Fact is, that's me like saying, like, going in, I want to start a business or I want to get into corporate and climb the ladder, right? I want to take one step up the ladder, but then I want to be at the top in 30 days. And that just doesn't happen. You don't go from a line worker up to CEO in 30 days. There is nothing possible on this world that can make that happen, nor do you even have the skill sets to do something like that, because it goes back to, like, where's the foundation at? Where's the foundation, right? This leads into my point 3, okay? Again, having these conversations with these individuals is all of them have the skill set. They already have the skills to not just be successful, ultra successful, okay? And here's what actually got me. These are individuals that have built massive companies, work for big corporations, they manage teams, they can make decisions under pressure, okay? You want to talk about some pressure? How to make decisions not off of their emotions, to get the information every single day that's going to move the needle forward, right? They have the skills. And they just never once pointed it at their own health. That's all. This is how crazy simple it is. And when you start like peeling back the layers, you can see their eyes opening up. Like, oh, you're right, Chris. You're right. I can't do this. And so you start to inspire them, but you would never run your company on how you feel. I was at my son's baseball game yesterday, and I'm sorry, not a game, it was a practice. But I was talking to one of the dads out there. He has his own business too, and again, having kind of similar conversations. That was kind of one of his things. Is I told him, I was like, you would never run your business on motivation. You'd be laughing one minute, crying the next minute, firing people left and right, wanting to burn everything to the ground. Like you can't. It is really crafting and molding your mental fortitude when you start doing things like this. And as it should, right? This is not for everybody's lifestyle, but the point is they do have the capacity. It's like, now let's mold it into your own personal health. So again, how can we do that? And when's the last time that you actually tracked? You track everything in your business. You track all the metrics, the CPAs, the KPIs, your payroll, all of that stuff. But then when it comes to your body, God forbid you want to step on a scale or you track that number. You don't get a body fat percentage done. You don't track your calories or your macros. You don't look at like if your strength is going up in the gym, if you're even working out. How can you make good decisions on what to do next? Or how do you make decisions to improve when there's no data to go off of? If that's like you running a business or anybody, forget the business thing. Let's just say you never look at what's in your bank account. You don't just keep swiping your card mindlessly. At some point, it's going to get declined. And this is what's happening with people's bodies. Is they're just swiping, which is really just eating junk food all the time, not getting their steps in, not moving, not exercising, just being very sedentary. That's swiping all day long. That body's going to get declined. And then what comes with a decline? Well, then you start having your health complications right behind it, right? That's your collection agency. They're coming back, all right? And so you got to have that dashboard for yourself. And this is why it's important to have some sort of system to be able to track and keep things in flow. And don't think of this as being like obsessive or anything like that. Once you kind of get a flow of things, you don't have to track as much. But if you've never tracked ever in your life, I highly think it is beneficial for doing that, okay? And here's the thing, right? When with these people too, don't get me wrong, they're going to their doctors. Okay, they're going to their primary care, or maybe they have a private doctor that they go to, and they may do some basic labs, which also a lot of times don't even check their hormonal levels. And they get told everything's cool, you're normal, right? But they don't feel normal coming along with the lifestyle that they live. So normal is not the same thing as optimal, right? Imagine trying to be a high performer and you're dragging every single day. That's not going to get you so far. And you know it. Like, why do I feel like this? I didn't used to be this way. I used to have tons of energy to keep going all day. Things change. Body changes. We get older. Responsibilities get a little bit heavier. And so part of that, I would really encourage everybody, not just these individuals, but when I talk to them, I'm like, you need a full panel run. You need to look at all the metabolic markers. Your inflammation markers. We do want to look at your hormones like your testosterone, your estrogen. Let's look at your cholesterol, your liver function, your kidneys. Like, we want to look at all of that, because if we can get the body to work with you versus constantly trying to filter and fight against it, man, everything's going to start clicking. not only are you going to start seeing results a lot faster, you're going to feel way, way better. And then if you really want to turn it up, well, then you get into like the peptides. Then you get into the different supplementations that you can do. There's things that you can do to just take it to that next level, right? But not until you're ready. So that's the whole thing. They never needed more discipline, okay? They just really needed some sort of scoreboard, a Excel sheet, an app, anything that they could start seeing numbers, because when these individuals see numbers, they collect the data and that's what they want to thrive on. How can I make that number better, right? Having a broad blanket statement of, I just need to be healthier, that means nothing. It means nothing to me when somebody tells me that, because I'm just like, well, do you feel unhealthy? What is unhealthy? What does that mean, right? You want to be very specific with the goals that you're trying to achieve, because then you're going to get very specific with the outcome that you're going to get, okay? So the last one, this one can be a little controversial because you'll hear people say this, and I won't lie to you. At one point in my life, I used to say the same thing. I just want balance in my life. How many of you guys have ever said that? I want balance in my life. The reality is there's no such thing as real equal balance in your life. Okay? And let me explain. And this is very like an unpopular belief, I think, but equal balance just doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Nobody who has ever achieved anything difficult or of greatness has done it with balance. When you're talking about Olympic athletes, high-level achievers, big-time business owners, your Bill Gates, Elon Musk, like these big-time people, they are not just invested, they are obsessed. And sometimes it can be a little bit unhealthy of an obsession of what they're trying to achieve. Now, what level you want to take it to, that is your prerogative. I'm not here to tell you that. But what I am here to tell you is that sometimes that pendulum is going to swing a little bit harder in one direction for a season, okay? And so when we're talking about your health and fitness, let's say you're an individual that has 20 to 30 pounds to lose, all right? You're going to sway that pendulum a little bit more into doing the necessary things to reach your goals, which means you're going to do a little extra cardio. You're going to pay attention more to your nutrition. You're going to focus a little bit more on your workouts. And what starts to get released a little bit is going out on the weekends, having those drinks with your coworkers or friends, right? Snacking. Those sort of things are going to get a little bit swayed, and now we're going to focus on getting that weight down. And then, once you get to your goal, that pendulum can start to go back into some sort of equilibrium, right? But no matter what it is, whatever goals you have, it is not going to be balanced. There's going to be a season where you're going to just have to go a little bit harder, a little more in with the goal that is in mind. And that's the same thing with like these guys with business, except they never figured out how to bring it back. When things are going good, you just do more of that. And then that pendulum gets heavier and heavier, swaying into the business, into the marketing, into your employees. And then what happens? You can't bring it back because you're so caught up in the mix, right? You're in the eye of the storm. So you can't really see what else is going out there. And so that's where I'm like, okay, let's reel you back a little bit. And I'm not saying step away from your business or step away from other obligations, kids and family and things like that. But it's all, where do we prioritize things and how do we time that in a manner that gets us to our goals, but we also don't slip up and just start pushing it off, right? It's just the necessary caveat to reaching your goals. And some people may say it's a little bit dangerous. I don't think so. I think if you have control of what you're supposed to do and you prioritize things, this is what's going to get you to where you want to be. I didn't get where I am now through balance. I went through my seasons, especially things that you sacrifice could be sleep. You may sacrifice a little bit of sleep. I'm big on recovery, but sometimes I will sacrifice a little bit to get the things done that I need to do. Doesn't mean you do it forever, right? It's just for the season. So think of your life in seasons. Your health is just not something that you can just put on the plate and drop it, right? Ever. You can always kind of let go of some hobbies for a little bit. You can thin out the social calendar. You can get quiet on those things, but your health will always catch up to you. It is a shadow that will follow you forever, and you hope that it comes back in a good manner, right? And the reason is simple, right? Because everything else that is relying on your health is put on that plate as well, right? Your engagement with your team, engagement with your family, engagement with your kids. They want to see the best version of you, not the mom or dad that comes home gassed, just tired, just want to sit on the couch, no interaction. Who is that good for? And what do you say? Oh, I'm just tired from working all day. I'm sorry. Suck it up. Your kids need you there, you know? I work all day. I wake up at 5. I'm busting my butt. I got clients to talk to. I got marketing to do. I got content to make. And then guess what? My son has practice at 6:30 at night. I don't get home till 8. And then we still got to do the evening routine. What do I say? I'm tired? No. Don't do it. All right? Suck it up. So again, it's seasons. There's seasons, right? That's not every day either. So again, I just want to kind of bring this back. I thought this was something really interesting that just kind of hit me over the past couple of days as I started reflecting with individuals that I was working with. And I wanted to share that with you guys because some of you guys can resonate with this, maybe just one or two of them. But I just want you to understand all these skills apply to everyone. I think so many people rely on the motivation and the discipline to get to their goals. And in all reality, you need to be strategic. You need to have a system put in place and execute. Do what you're supposed to do, right? Nothing in life has ever told us to do anything else differently. If you want to be a free bird and just kind of go with the flow, well, that's what you get. You get whatever is in the draft. But if you have a target that you're trying to hit, you got to be laser focused. You got to know what it is, and you got to attack it with intention. So again, you're not lazy, you're not weak, you're not broken. All of you that are listening to this have done much harder things than getting in shape. I can promise you that. Just think about it. All right. I'm not going to start naming off things, but I promise you, all of you have done something way harder than to eat a little bit less and move a little bit more. I know that's really simple, but for some of you, that's all you need to do to just get started. Okay. You're not alone, and you're not the only one who's been doing everything right and still feeling like trash. Okay. I talk to these kinds of people all the time. You're not alone. And if you need help, you know where to find me. I'm more than happy to help you. Follow me on my social media. I'm posting stuff all the time. But again, anytime I reflect or I feel like I want to share something with you guys, I want to, because that's what I designed this podcast for. Is essentially it's for me. I want to learn from others, but also to share with you guys what I'm learning along my journey. So hope this was helpful, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.